Hello, this is AstrologerCoach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the full moon and some of the retrogrades that are coming up. So this month's full moon is in Cancer on January 9th, right after midnight in the very early morning hours on the East Coast. And the full moon is asking us to find the balance between our inner realities and our outer realities. So the intentions that we were setting on December 24th during the new moon in Capricorn, those are the intention that we've been started taking actions on within the past 2 weeks, and now we're seeing some of the results of that. And some of the results are bringing some awareness around where there is some imbalance going on. So with the full moon, there's always a sense that there's more light, and the sense that there's more light sort of brings more of an awareness of what is out of balance and what needs to be readjusted. And so right now with the full moon, we're getting to see, like, is our inner world resonating with the goals that we've been setting and the goals that we've been moving towards? Does that resonate with each other? So basically it's about, are we walking our talk? Is what's inside of us really what's happening outside of us, right? Now with the planets, there's a bunch of planets that are starting to move retrograde within the next couple of months. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about what that means for us and where that's happening. Now, a retrograde planet always means that a planet appears to be moving backwards from our perspective, from the perspective of the Earth. And during a retrograde, it's a time of finding answers within, going within, and kind of getting in touch with our intuitive, more feminine sides and reflecting upon things. During the station, before a planet retrogrades, it's stations. And during the station, there's a sense that the planet is slowing down and coming to a halt. And that's a time when usually there's a little bit more anxiety in the air because we're feeling something moving, slowing down and sort of stopping. And it scares us a little bit because it almost feels like things are not moving forward and they're kind of possibly falling apart. But that's actually not what's happening during the station. But this heightened sense of anxiety can sometimes cause us, to use the energies of that planet in a kind of impulsive way. So that's something to watch out for. Now, the two planets that are going to be involved in going retrograde is going to be Saturn and Mars. Saturn is going to station between January 14th and March 2nd in 29 degrees of Libra. Now, 29 degrees of Libra is a really particular placement in itself because it's the last degree of this sign before it moves into a new sign. So as it stations on that last degree, there's a heightened sense that is connected to our relationships, because Libra is all about relationships and cooperation. So with the station taking place in that degree, it also resonates back to the last time Saturn was in 29 degrees, which was in the end of 1982 and the beginning of 1983. So let's all think back. What happened at the end of 1982 and the beginning of 1983 in regards to our relationships? Now, if you were not born at that time yet, or you were too young to have significant relationships, please think back on the relationship that you either had with your parents or the relationship that your parents had with each other. And this is sort of like what happened during that time is sort of like a karmic cycle that is going to be completed now with Saturn coming back to that same degree in the end of this sign in terms of our relationships. So something needs a resolution, something needs to be resolved, and it's either something that has to do with us personally in relationship to our parents, or in relationship to our one-on-one relationships, or it has to do with the relationship that our parents had at that time. Now, when Saturn goes retrograde, which will be from February 7th until the end of June, we're getting a chance to look at our relationships and reevaluate which one of these one-on-one relationships that we have actually still work for us and resonate with us. We're also getting a chance to take more responsibility for who we are in the relationship, and what is being mirrored back to us. Because relationships usually are mirrors. They're mirrors, reflections of ourselves. And through someone else, we sometimes can see things that we normally wouldn't be able to see without that other person about ourselves. So it's really about, during that retrograde cycle, we're being asked to go inwards and intuitively get in touch with what are some of these responsibilities that we're seeing reflected back to us in our relationships. What do we need to take responsibility for inside of us? The other thing that comes up during a Saturn retrograde cycle is usually our boundaries that we have within our relationships. Do we have healthy boundaries? And when I talk about healthy boundaries, I really mean, do we have any boundaries, or do we have boundaries that are maybe too rigid, too harsh, so that people can't even get in, right? So healthy boundaries is really about finding the middle path, or the exact balance between no boundaries and too many boundaries, or too rigid boundaries, right? So that's another thing that we're getting to be able to explore during this time. And so it's all about, getting in touch with our inner sense of responsibility, getting in touch to reevaluate our relationships, getting in touch with maybe restructuring our relationships and see if the reality of the relationship matches up with what we really feel inside of us, right? So again, it's about going inward and seeing what your intuition is telling you about that. Now, the other planet that's going retrograde as well this month is Mars. Mars is going to station between January 18th and the 29th, and in Virgo. So Mars stationing in Virgo will bring up some anxiety around taking actions around our work environment and our well-being, like our physical well-being and our well-being in general, how we're doing in the world. Now, Mars is all about doing and taking action and being out there in the world, right? It's a masculine energy. So when that stations, the anxiety will be related to, wanting to take actions very impulsively and wanting to get something done and wanting to very quickly reorganize something that has been lying around forever. But it's actually not the best time to do it during the station time, because the planet is slowing down. So we're going to feel very slowed down in that process, and maybe even stopped in that process somehow. So it's best to wait actually until Mercury does go retrograde, which will be January 23rd until middle of April. And when Mars goes retrograde, we're getting a chance to think back to some of the things that we've already done between November 18th, 2011 and January 23rd of this year. And to think back, like, what are some of the things that we need to reevaluate? What are some of the things that we need to maybe redo? Maybe we need to reassess what has been happening in terms of us taking action towards something in our work environment, or in regards to our health and our well-being. And we can ask ourselves, like, how do we want to spend our energies? Like, do we spend our energies wisely? Are we using them as we want to use them? And again, this retrograde motion has to do with going within and getting in touch with our own intuition. So it's really about understanding from a more internal place what works for us and what doesn't, and how we want to use our energies. And maybe something that we have already done needs to be looked at again and needs to be done in a different way. So things are going to slow down a little bit in terms of the physicality in us, in terms of our activeness. And because Mars is also related to anger, we're also going to see some kind of internal movement with our anger. So anger might be moved inward towards ourselves, or it might be delayed and come out in possibly maybe passive-aggressive ways. So just be aware of that, and see if that's something that's happening with you, and give that some space and give it some love and some compassion, and also do that if you see other people do that, because it's part of the Mars retrograde. Pardon me. So so just to see how to deal with the retrograde energies, I would say, open your heart, give it some space, tap into your feminine energies, be open to receiving, be open to reflecting, be open to nurturing yourself, be open to get in touch with your intuitive side, and do some planning and reworking from that intuitive place, and just let things unfold. And sometimes that can be a hard thing to do because we're so trained and so conditioned to always, be an active part of something. But during the retrograde time, it's really a time to let things unfold and to come from an intuitive place. So if you can do that, if you can get in touch with that feminine place, and if you can let just things be and come from that place, all is going to be well. Nothing is going to fall apart completely. Things are just going to rework themselves as they need to. So this is something really good to remember. Now, if you want to know where in your life all of this is taking place, I have a really fantastic offer right now. I'm doing New Year's readings for the year of 2012, and those include everything that will happen for you in 2012 and where it will take place and how it's going to unfold. So if you're curious about that, please email me. This is available until the end of January, so please email me before then. And the email is Sonja, SONJA, @AstrologerCoach.com. And as always, there's going to be free blogs available on my website that you can go to on a weekly basis. And I also have a 2012 forecast there for the whole year. So please feel free to check that out. And that's on my website at www.astrologercoach.com/blog. All right, I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you soon at my next video blog for the new moon. And this is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.